Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar that's taking place today, How to Video Walk Like a Pro. My name is Nicole Hager, and I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at Struction Site. So I want to take this time before we begin to meet our dedicated experts who will be speaking today. We have Tom Myers and Brianna Williams. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Tom Myers. I'm the head of Applied AI for Struction Site. I have been a passionate person in the entrepreneurial space, specifically focusing on 3D reconstruction and more recently applied AI and machine learning. And I'm really the person to talk to today about how the video walk actually happens. And if you have any deep technical questions, I can field those for you today. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it and showing you what we're up to with VideoWalk and how to do video walks in a really expert way. Thank you much. And on to Bree.
All right, my name is Brianna Williams. I come from the construction industry. I have worked on a variety of different job sites and project types in a variety of different roles, ranging from school projects to hospitals to high-rise projects. I also rolled out Struction Site as a customer in 2017 when I was on a high-rise job. So I'm intimate with the nuances of the construction industry, and I'm now putting my skills to work here at Struction Site, where I'm working on building tools that help you guys do your jobs more efficiently and help people build better. So now I'm going to jump to the next slide and let Nicole give an intro.
All right, so before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. Know that this webinar will be recorded and it'll be shared out afterwards in an email. And if you have any questions, we'll have a Q&A at the end of this. So both Bree and Tom will be able to answer those. So go ahead and type those questions in the chat and we'll talk at them at the very end. With that, I'll let you two get started.
So we'll start out by talking about, from a very high level, what the technology that we use to produce video walks and what approach we take and how we do those from a process standpoint out in the field, what the hardware associated with the walks are, and why image quality is so important when we're creating these video walks by your teams out in the field. Next slide. So the first thing I'd like to address specifically is around image quality and what we're doing. So from a very high level, we're using a technology called photogrammetry. So what we do, you can see the little inset in the images here. As you're taking the videos, as you're walking around with the panoramic cameras, we're looking at each of the little features within those images, and we're comparing them between frames so that we correlate a frame between one step and the next step as you're walking around the floor. And we're able to highlight areas that match between those things. So you can imagine the corner of the doorway that's shown in the inset here, and then the same view of the same feature in another frame as you move along. So we take those and we do basically a bunch of triangulation. So a lot of heavy math, which is what the photogrammetry is doing to calculate where the frame was when each of the frames was taken relative to the previous frame. So as you can imagine, the better quality of image that you produce for this and the more stable and the more clear the images are, the easier that path is to determine and the better quality that path is and how more accurate the path is for the actual end use. So the key takeaway from this is poor images will yield poor features, which will yield poor paths. So from a more detailed standpoint, next slide, please. The algorithm itself, what it's doing. So the photogrammetry, as I said, looks at those individual features. You can imagine in the top frame there. And as you progress through the walk, each walk might contain, a couple of hundred up to several thousand frames. You can imagine this example one that's shown here is actually around 1,100 frames walking around a floor of an office space that's under construction. And the photogrammetry itself takes each of those points and produces a path or produces a walk that is calculated from frame to frame, combined together, and is able to also generate a point cloud of information around where each of those individual features was projected out into space relative to the camera frames. So the middle image is really showing that path that's calculated as you're walking around. And then what happens at the end is a projection of that path from the three-dimensional coordinate space of the reconstruction is projected down into the two-dimensional space of the floor plan or the drawing that's provided. So when you provide that drawing, you're really giving us a frame of reference and a context for where that walk was happening and what the surrounding information that we should be expecting to see in the VideoWalk itself frames and the images themselves. We have to have an understanding of where the start happened and where the end happened so that it maps accurately into that space. So anything you can do when the walk is created to really give a grounding so that the images that you're looking at in the area around you is actually featured and shown in the drawing that's being displayed as well. If you're showing us an area of something that doesn't exist yet, it's very hard to do that correlation. So the quality of the turnaround and the quality of the walk is dependent on having features identifiable in both the drawing and in the images themselves. So the start and stop points are critical to that. And the better correlation we have, the better quality of turnaround and output you'll have as a whole. Next slide, please. So what are the technical gotchas that really can arise? So as you're out in the field, walking around in the real world, stuff happens, right? We've had all range of things happening. From the top, you can see wet lenses happening. If it's drizzly or rainy, it's good to keep a small cloth to keep your lens clean so that you can see what's in the images. You're taking these images and you're taking the time to do this so that you can document the site. If you can't determine what's in the images because the lens is dirty, we're not going to be able to do a whole lot with it. The other thing to keep in mind is that the quality of the lighting and the consistency of the lighting really does matter. You can see some of the images. We've had walks sent to us with the lens cap stuck on. We've had walks where it's going in and out of a very bright space into a dark space. So you get an inconsistency of lighting and a transition of that lighting that makes it very difficult for the image quality to be maintained on the camera. The camera is doing its best to adjust to those variable environments, but it can only react so quickly. So the more smoothly you walk around and the more consistent you walk as you're going through the space, the better a chance it has to adjust to that and provide us usable and useful data. And the last point to really keep in mind, the bottom image is an idea that if you're starting somewhere where you can't visually see things, if there's just not physical manifestations of what's in the drawing, then it's going to be very difficult to correlate that to what's happening in the walk itself. So if you're in the middle of a large, freshly poured slab of concrete and there's not a lot of other features around, that makes it also quite challenging to do. So the more you can start and stop in places that have visually correlated features that match up to what's in the drawing, again, the better quality that will result as a whole. And with that, we will move on. I believe Bree is going to jump in now.
Yeah, and actually, this is Nicole. I'm jumping in first. I just want to address that I know you may have people on your team that are having issues entering the webinar. We don't know what's going on with GoToWebinar right now, but for those of you on, thank you, and we will also have a recording afterwards, so we'll be able to share it with people that weren't able to access this right now for whatever reason. But with that, Bria, I'll let you keep going.
All right, awesome. So I want to start by just giving an overview of the benefits of VideoWalk. As you guys know, StructionSite does support a variety of different image types within our platform, and I want to highlight the 2D photo is extremely good at detailed image quality. Obviously, people have really high quality cameras on their iPhones or Android devices, and it gives a nice image, but it doesn't have all the context that a 360 photo is going to have. So the 360 photos aren't quite as high of resolution, but it does give you the ability to look around the image and gain more context as to what you're looking at. And then the 360 photos, which are stitched together, which is the VideoWalk, we do capture 0.5 frames per second. So we are gathering lots of images we're using a tool called Best Frame Selector, which is displaying the best images that are created. And then we're stitching those together to create a path. So not only are you gaining just that one image location information, but you're also gaining the entire project's context. So video walks are capturing an enormous amount of frames and context within your drawing versus just your 2D photo that's capturing only one specific location. So that video that you're seeing is all photos taken in the same exact location and then navigating throughout them. So you can see how much more you gain by having that video walk image. Now I'm going to go over the steps to creating a video walk. So the first thing you're going to do is upload your floor plans like you normally would to Struction Site, whether that be through an integration platform like Procore or PlanGrid or some kind of cloud storage platform. You're going to add those floor plans, and then you're going to get your camera, your light, and your mount of whatever type you're using, and then you're going to begin a video walk. So to do that, you pair your camera with your mobile device, whether that be Android or iOS. You pair the two, then you're going to select a starting point on the drawing, and then you're going to begin walking the site like you normally would for around 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the camera that you're using. You're then going to select an end point, which, like Tom said, is correlatable points on the floor plan, and then you're going to sync that video walk to Struction Site, and you'll see that walk in about 24 hours on your floor plan. So now I'm going to dive into some best practices for each of those steps, starting with the hardware setup. So there are a few different options that you have when creating a hardware setup for your different cameras, your lights, and some of them have different pros and cons, so I'll outline those in the next slides. So the first thing is the camera. We do only support video walk with the Insta360 One X and the Garmin Verb. These cameras allow us to record in a time-lapse setting. The value of time-lapse is we are able to have smaller file sizes when doing capture versus a video recording, which is going to be a lot more imagery to share, sync, transfer. So time-lapse is recorded, and we then put that onto the floor plan. So the two different cameras that I'm showing here, the Insta360, the camera on the left is about $400, and it is the camera we recommend most because it does capture at 5,000 or 5.7K video and then an 18 megapixel photo. The Garmin Verb is about $800, and it is capturing at 4K video and 15 MP for photo. So the Insta is a cheaper camera and it has higher image resolution. The Insta also has tilt correction built into it. So if you do have your camera at a slight angle, you have it on hard hat mount, it will auto correct the tilt of that image to be vertical. So next step is you're going to need some kind of mount for the camera so you don't have to hold the camera as you're walking the project. First one is the hard hat mount. The pros to this is obviously it is hands-free. You can walk around the job site without having to hold something. The camera is just placed on top of your hard hat. We do recommend this for the Insta One X because it does have that tilt correction. You don't have to worry about your images being at a slight angle. It is also the least amount of effort for holding something. If you have your light strapped to your hard hat, your camera on top, you don't have to worry about carrying things that have a large amount of weight to them for 20 minutes around a project. And then the consistency of capture. It does have the least amount of user in the photo. You will see if you pan down to the bottom of the photo, you will see a slight shadow of the person, maybe at the top of their hard hat, but it's not putting a full person in the frame. So some people want the photos to be at the same height consistently, and they don't want the user in it. That's going to be the tool for it. The cons to the hard hat mount are adjusting. If you do have to take that camera off for some reason, make sure that you choose a mount that you can slide on and off without having to take your hard hat off. If you do take your hard hat off, we recommend that you do go to a safe location to remove your PPE, and then make sure that if you do need someone to check the camera for you, if you're not able to get to a safe location, you can have someone check that camera for you. We do see that obviously when you're walking around a job, conditions are changing and you need to be able to look around and be aware of your surroundings. So if you do use a hard hat mount, be mindful of the amount of movement in your head. If you're swiveling your head back and forth quickly, it can cause blurring of the images. So make sure you're aware of your surroundings, but also that you're moving in a steady way. And then obstacles. If you have the hard hat mount and you walk through maybe by some duct straps or some ceiling tie wire, you want to make sure that you're not hitting your head or the camera with any of the obstacles on the job site. Okay, the monopod option. Obviously, this is a really nice setup for people who want to have a variety of different lighting options. You can, go with the LED light strip. You can use a variety of different light combinations with the monopod. It also gives the user a lot of control. People are able to move the camera around. They can put the camera up above a location where they couldn't reach it with the hard hat mount. You can also attach a device clip. So in the image, you can see there's a clip that's holding either a mobile device or an iPad or a tablet, where you can then have your screen open in front of you all in one seamless setup. It also is universal. It doesn't have to be shared, so you don't have to worry about sharing a hard hat or having a variety of clips. It's one setup that's ready to go for a larger team. The cons to this are you want to make sure that you're keeping that monopod as close to you as possible so that you're not putting yourself in all of the frames. The weight can be a challenge. Some of our lighting options, while they're great and they provide a really nice light option, they can be a little heavy. So that's something to be mindful of if you're doing longer walks. And then you have to keep up the setup. So you have to make sure that it's readily accessible to people and make sure that you're keeping it functioning. And now I'm going to jump in to the next slide, which is showing you a variety of lighting options. So the LED light strip is the first one that you're seeing in the columns here. The image below it is going to be an example of a photo taken in a completely dark room on a job site. It is a smaller room, so that LED light strip works really well in smaller locations. It's not going to be quite the same if you're in a really large room. And it's just a peel and stick adhesive LED light strip using batteries. So it's a great, super cheap option to use with the monopod, but again, works best in smaller locations. The second option is the RPAL. The RPAL is currently not available on Amazon, but if you have one, it is a really nice light that can be used with a monopod setup. But again, it provides a little bit more of a yellow light to it versus the blue LED light. Then we have the hard hat lamp. That is only going to provide a 180-degree light, so we do recommend you stack two of them on top of each other using clips to hold it in place. This is what we have found to be the brightest light option for hard hats. As you can see in the image below, it does provide very great light option for smaller spaces, but again, not the best for really large rooms. And then the fourth light option is the LED work light. This one, again, it's 180 degrees. It's not 360, but it's extremely bright. And as you can see in this small room, it would have lit up a very large space. So it's the best of the light options that we've found. And it's, again, pretty affordable. So I'm going to now jump in to show you guys some examples of the setups here. So the LED light strip, peel and stick, it can wrap up your monopod or any variety of different surfaces that you are using to hold your camera. The RPAL, it's going to be screwed in place with your monopod. The hard hat lamp, you're going to use two different clips to hold the light in place, and you're going to want to make sure you have two of those, one facing forward, one facing backward. And then the LED work light, you're going to take two of the work lights, strap them on either side of the monopod, and then use zip ties to keep them in place. You could also use maybe like a Velcro strip, something to keep those lights in place so that there is lighting all the way around you. Now I'm going to jump in and talk about some of the drawings that we recommend you use in order to have the best turnaround time for VideoWalk. So the images at the top are architectural or interior drawings. These are also overall floor plans. The bottom images are the enlarged floor plans. So the reason we want you guys to use the overall floor plans is purely because when you start your video walk, you're going to begin walking, and it's really difficult to make sure that you stay within that enlarged floor plan. So overall is the best drawing type to use because it does give you the ability to walk the entire floor plate. If for some reason you don't have architectural floor plans that have an overall, you can use enlarged floor plans, but you need to make sure you're starting and stopping that walk within that floor plans region. So always make sure you're walking within the area that's shown on that drawing that you're looking at. The architectural and interior are going to be best because they have the clearest floor plan that gives like recognizable locations. For example, you have doorways, you have walls, you have columns. It's going to give you context as to where you are within the building. You could use, in a pinch, maybe the electrical drawings that don't have a lot of clutter on them, but you want to avoid using things like your mechanical duct plan that has a lot of clutter on the floor plans. Next ones are going to be if you're doing an exterior walk. You have a couple different options. You have your overall site plan, maybe in your general drawings, or you could use your landscape site plans, but you want to make sure that it's a plan that gives you either locations with a building corner or parking lot or maybe a street or a sidewalk. You want to make sure, again, like Tom said, that you have recognizable points that the camera is going to be able to see and then match to those drawings. Drawings to avoid are going to be your civil and grading plans that have lots of earth lines to them that don't have recognizable features to them. So again, overall plans are best. Make sure you're walking within what is shown in the drawing, and make sure you're using drawings that aren't too cluttered. If you are doing a video walk in a project that has maybe demolition going on or has existing conditions that are going to change over time, you want to make sure you start using your interior demo drawings, or if it's exterior, your exterior demo drawings. Do your video walks on those drawings first, and then either use the move feature or the slip sheet tool to swap your drawings to the latest drawing. So if you're in a demo, wait until the demo is complete, and then once it's ready for either the tenant improvement or the build out, then switch to those new drawings and using the move or slip sheet feature so that you have all of your walks in one location with that side-by-side view over time. Now I'm going to jump into best practices. So this is, you have your hardware set up, your drawings are uploaded, now you're going to begin walking. A common question we always get asked is, how fast should I be walking? I always tell people, walk as if you're holding a full beverage of choice, whether that be maybe a hot cup of coffee or a full adult beverage. Whatever it is, make sure you're walking and being mindful of where you're going. If you are using a hard hat mount, make sure you're mindful of where your head is facing. And if you're using a monopod, be aware of moving it around or keeping it upright. Next thing is going to be drawings, making sure you're starting and stopping within the area that you're walking, and then make sure that you're next to something that is a relatable location. So the example that you're seeing here, we started the walk and ended the walk within a doorway. If you didn't have walls up, you could choose a column, you could choose the edge of a building, maybe a sidewalk. So something that does have a correlatable location to it. And now I'm going to go over a quick summary of the best practices that we've talked about. So first thing, make sure you upload the correct drawing that matches the phase of construction and is clean and easy to see. Then once you begin capturing, make sure you check your lens. Make sure it's clean, it's free of debris, smudges, water drops. Use a light. Even if you are in the interior of a building that has decent site lighting, you want to make sure that you have that light on for if any reason you walked into a dark room, you don't have to worry about the camera having to adjust the lens. Then make sure you are using one of the suggested setups that we have, or you've created your own, and make sure that it works and the lighting is proper. And last thing, know your path. Make sure that you are aware of your surroundings, that you're not walking underneath tarps or underneath things that are going to block the lens of the camera. And then start and stop your walk near recognizable features on the drawing. So those are the best practices that we have outlined for VideoWalk, and hopefully this helps you guys capture better images and see more benefits from this tool moving forward. So now I'm going to open it up, read some of the questions, and respond to you guys here. So give me 1 second as I open up those questions. Okay, so the first one I'm seeing here, is there a way to process video sites offline for areas with poor network? Okay, that's a great question. I'm going to take it. Tom, jump in if you have anything you want to add here. The video walks are all done offline. You pair your camera with your mobile device using the camera's Wi-Fi, not another Wi-Fi source. You capture all of your walks, and then once you go back into either your job site office or your office where you have Wi-Fi, then you're going to sync that information. So it doesn't actually require any Wi-Fi for this workflow. Okay, next question. How do you actually view the video of the walk? I see an MP4 file noted, but have not found a way to view / download, etc. I'm guessing this question is in relation to the offline deliverable. Right now, we do have two ways to export the video walks. One is the PDF export. That tool can be done on a drawing level. So you're going to export that video walk or the images on that drawing. And then you're going to have the path, which is all of those video walk nodes mapped onto the floor plan with a hyperlink to the 360 web viewer. The offline deliverable, which is going to be your entire project, that is giving you all of your raw data from your job site. So that is going to be your PDF drawing hyperlinked to the photos, or all of the raw MP4 files are sent as well. So if you want the path, make sure you use the PDF export. If you don't care about the path and just want to keep all of your data in an offline, off-structured site platform, then you're going to use the offline deliverable. Next question is, right now we are using the Insta360 One X. Are other high-resolution 360 cameras you are recommending? Right now, those are the two cameras that we're supporting. We have been in touch with a couple other companies that are developing new hardware, and we are always keeping our eyes and ears open for other tools that are coming out. We've heard that there are a few other types coming out this summer, so we will keep you guys posted on when new and better hardware is available. Next one is the RPAL actually available for sale anywhere? It seems that I'm not able to find it, and it's no longer manufactured for my searches. We are not recommending that people buy the RPAL, as it is more expensive and it doesn't, provide as great of a lighting option as some of the other ones that we had shown. So we are recommending that you use either the LED work light or the hard hat strip. So again, other options are out there. The RPAL, if you have it, is still a good option, but it's not the light we're recommending people to purchase now. Okay, question on the LED work light. How many work lights do you use to illuminate 360 degrees? Right now, 2 lights works great. I even tested it with 1, just using the light facing in front of me, and it worked really well. So 2 is what we recommend, but if you have 1, you could use it, but again, 2 is best. Okay, okay, another question. Tom, this one's probably going to be best for you. Can construction site software automatically remove the monopod stick from the scenes, leaving the image or video apparently suspended in midair?
Yeah, hello, I answered that actually in the text of the question section as well. In general, the monopod is not terribly visible. Whatever is at the bottom of the camera for the Insta and the Verb as they're capturing is generally hidden from view. The exception to that can be the hard hat itself, depending on the size and relative position relative to the camera. You can have parts of the hard hat visible. The other thing that we see often is some of the lighting configurations will also be visible in the bottom of the image. So those are both things to keep in mind. We do not specifically mask or remove anything from the images, and we capture what was seen by the camera, and we store and present that directly back without any adjustment or removal. So we do not automatically remove it, and generally it's not a problem for something that is in the scene.
All right, I'm going to answer one more question here. When you do multiple walks, is there a history feature like for the photos or 360 photos? Yes, there is. We are automatically progressing walks that are taken in a 2 to 3 foot location of each other. So when you click on one of those VideoWalk nodes, if a past walk was done in the same location or similar location, we're going to provide the option to click on those other ones and do a split view side by side, so you can, yes, jump back in time and see other walks. And it looks like we are at time now. We will respond to all of the questions in the chat here. And also we have at the end of this slide deck links to additional content. So the recommended hardware starter kit, the buyer guide, the pros and cons to the hard hat versus monopod, which drawings to use, what the mobile workflow looks like, and then best practices. So we will send out both the recording to this webinar and the PowerPoint, so you have all of these links to additional content if you wanted to learn more. Thank you guys for joining. We really appreciate it.